Okay, so let's get started, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining us today from whichever part of the world you are from. We're happy to have you here, and please join me in welcoming Rob, who is the CTO of Offset Solar. I'll just give a quick introduction about Offset Solar, and then hand it over to Rob to take the webinar forward from there. For those of you who don't know, Offset Solar is a company based out of Washington in the US, which enables homeowners to go solar. Now, they have a very beautiful vision in mind, is that everybody should have access to clean, renewable power and help as many communities as possible. Now, the company was founded in January 2017, and about 6 months later, Offset Solar became happy customers of Freshsales. When they started off, they had a handful of agents using the CRM, but now there are about 50 plus agents who use Freshsales every day. Rob will explain more in detail about this, but they leverage workflows extensively and use the visual sales pipeline features amongst others. Now, before we begin into how Offset Solar uses Freshsales, I'll hand it over to Rob to give you a little introduction about him, the company in general, and their whole CRM journey so far. Over to you, Rob.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me, everyone. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you about, basically what we've done at Offset Solar that's allowed us to be very successful, and then how we're utilizing the Freshsales CRM to honestly get the most out of it and really do a lot for our company. So just so you guys are aware, I am going to be going into some kind of technical stuff, but I want you to know that I'm not, even though I am the CTO, I don't really consider myself to be your typical CTO, especially for some sort of tech company. My background is in digital marketing. I do have a good understanding of how technologies work and they work together, and I hope to kind of shed some light on that for you all and make it kind of seem really simple so you can do some really cool things for your business. So a little bit more about who I am. My background's in digital marketing. I've run a couple multi-seven-figure businesses in the social media and marketing space, and now providing outsourced CTO services to Offset Solar, and been doing and working with them, for past year and a half now, and it's been a wild ride. So as you see here, our 400% revenue growth with Freshsales CRM. To be honest, it's been more like 2,000%. We went from under $1 million, about 500,000 in revenue in 2017 to about 24 million in 2018. And so that wild ride really was wild, and honestly, took a lot of lessons away that I can hope to share with you all here as you are scaling your companies, whatever industry you may be in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Just a little overview for you all. I'm going to start out going through the slides here, talking about our company, our path, how we use the CRM, and then I'm going to actually go into our CRM, show you how we have things set up, and then also, me being a marketer, I want to show you how we leverage CRM also with our marketing efforts to make sure that when we're generating leads, where our sales process is appropriate, but then also that if someone's not converting, how we're actually using that data to make it so that we can get future leads for cheaper. So I'll show you how we do that. All right, and let's go. Oops, let me click here. Sorry. There we go. All right, so as you're saying, we're out of Liberty Lake, Washington. We're in the solar energy industry. At around the time of this making, we're at about 112 employees. We are a fully integrated solar energy company, meaning we do our own lead generation, our own sales, and then we also do our own installs. Right now, we're in Washington, Illinois, and a couple other states, but those are our main ones where we have install crews. So this information actually should be updated because it's now new, but based at the end of the year, through our partnership with SolarAid, we donate, or actually are contributing. It's not necessarily donating. We're setting the communities up to be able to actually sell these solar lights and help empower the communities as opposed to just providing them. But what we're doing is with solar lights to communities in Uganda, Malawi, and Zambia. So for every person that goes solar, we make a donation of 50 solar lamps. So far, here's just some stats on our social mission. So we have, the biggest one here is the solar lamps gave the children in these communities an extra, almost 9 million hours of study time. And that's a really big deal. I mean, all of us know the importance of our education. That's how we've gotten here to be business owners. It's how we understand what we need to do. So we're looking to empower these communities every chance that we get and give back. So that's our mission. So yeah, we have 66 sales agents on Freshsales. It fluctuates every week or so. We'll add some more seats. Sometimes things will drop off, but about that, we have been up to about 92 seats. We have done a little bit of restructuring, which is why we're down to 66. But we're loving the platform, have no intention on leaving, and honestly, we've done some amazing things with it, and it works well because we also use just so you guys know, we also use the Freshdesk for our ticketing solution. So some of the challenges, in the solar energy industry, most businesses are built on a canvassing or a door-to-door sales model. And in order to move over to more of a digital model, there's a lot of things that we needed to consider and needed to do. So in kind of our search for the right CRM, we tested different things. We tried a solar specific one called Solar Sales Tracker, but really it just wasn't good at all. We messed around with Zoho CRM, but it wasn't intuitive enough. And especially, I mean, if any of you guys run sales teams, you know what it's like when you have to get a salesperson to learn a CRM, right? Like they're there to sell, they don't want to learn a CRM, and so you have to make sure that whatever your solution is, it's really easy to understand. So honestly, for a while in the beginning when we first started going digital, we were just using Google Sheets, and we were bringing them in there, and each guy had his own sheet, and he was, managing there, and it worked well, but it definitely wasn't flexible enough to meet, our evolving sales process and the fact that we were really ramping up lead gen, and we wanted to have more oversight. So there's lack of automation features and all that stuff. So what's really important to our company, especially because when we were getting started, we're very bootstrapped. We didn't have much money at all. It's anything that we invested in, we saw it as something that was necessary. And there's options like the sales forces that I'm sure you're aware of. And the problem is like one, it's expensive, right? And like they have to implement it and can't necessarily do it yourself. So for us, it had to be something that was both affordable, had a lot of features, and that we could set up ourselves, but also had access to things like APIs and webhooks so that we could really build out our entire digital ecosystem, as we kind of like to call it. So we didn't want to be confined to whatever software we were using, but we wanted to make sure that we could do everything inside of it ourselves, or at least with the support of their team. So we were able to find that with Freshsales, absolutely. So kind of another things here. It's all in one CRM. It eliminated the need for a lot of the other tools that we were using for tracking or for uploading files or things of that nature. One big thing, again, because of these workflows and the API access, we really have been able to just build out our system on top of it, like from the marketing standpoint and sales automation standpoint, that you may need to go pay a lot of money for other tools to do. We were able to do that just using their workflows and just a tool called Zapier, which I'm going to get into here. And some of you guys are probably familiar with Zapier, but I'll talk to you more about it. As far as like the manual data entry, like obviously, there's still some times that you have to enter data, but for the most part, like using the integrations with Zapier things, or even converting from a lead to a contact, it's pulling that information over, it's copying it, it's making it really smooth. So there we go. And it's affordable for a growing team. And Freshsales may not want me to tell you this, but if you get enough seats on there, they'll also help you out with additional discounts. So that was always nice. And the round-the-clock customer support, I mean, I want to go ahead and just give it up to them for being here right now on this. I mean, the time over there is much later in the evening than it is here, so appreciate that. And they're always around. So basically, just a little bit about how our process works. So we capture the leads. We use Zapier integrations to avoid duplicates. I'll show you actually exactly how we do that, because I know you guys have probably all run into the issue before of having duplicate leads in there and being like, or just in any CRM, being like, oh, like, I need to delete these. It takes some manual work. It's not much fun at all. And then we use workflows to trigger APIs to send out automated texts and emails to the leads. And then, so our big stages we're using the leads and the deals. And so basically leads is as we're processing through and trying to collect all their information, as soon as we're able to collect some info, we move them into the deals. And then our mobile app, the mobile app is used a lot by, so we do still have some canvassing teams. So they'll use the app to upload new leads. And then they'll also, the closers, when they arrive to an appointment, they'll use the app to update the status, to add any notes, and also to pull up appropriate files on either their mobile phone or their iPad. And then as far as the integrations, again, we use Freshdesk. We did use Freshcaller for a while, and I do recommend Freshcaller. The one feature that we end up needing that has been really hard to find with any solution, so I'm not knocking Freshcall at all, is just the ability for three-way calling. And it's just because here in the solar industry, a lot of times we're calling people and needing to get their utility company on the phone in order to be able to gather their usage to appropriately build their system. So that was the only reason we switched away. If you aren't needing to do three-way calls, I highly recommend that. If you are needing to do three-way calls, I still can't totally recommend a great solution for that. So sorry, it can't be much help there. Anyways, prior to using Freshsales, like really our process was largely manual. I mean, everything from the Google Sheets to then even had multiple sheets for pulling in different pieces of information. It just was kind of all over the place, and things would fall through the cracks, and it was hard to stay on top of salesmen for being like, hey, just because this person said, hey, call me back next week, doesn't mean that you just like go and move on to someone else, right? Like have a much more transparency as to where our deals are and what people should be keeping track of. So it was a messy affair. Now it's not. You'll see as we get into the CRM that it's very clear. The visual pipelines are amazing. So some kind of KPIs for us, which our processes were streamlined like no other, especially compared to how they were before. It allowed for us to go, because in that past year, so 2018, we went, basically the beginning of that year, we had about five employees, so meaning W-2, not including our contractors, salesmen, but now we got up to 117 employees. So like as we went to that throughout the year, the fact that if we were using a solution besides Freshsales, I think that we may have had to switch CRMs a couple times, or we may have had to figure something out. But fortunately, Freshsales was able to scale with us from 5 employees to, again, those 92 seats that we were at, 66 now, and for that 117 employees throughout that year. So, and in a short amount of time, which was really important for us. And the productivity of everyone was much better with the visual pipelines and everything. We're able to really look in and see where things are going. So our account managers and things of that nature, we're able to really help streamline our processes and keep things moving through the pipelines. So again, just kind of reiterate here, getting started with Freshsales was extremely easy. I set up the entire CRM myself. And again, like I do have a good grasp on technology, but I want to let you know that even if I did not, and I'm not at all some like developer or coder, that's not me. I was able to do it all myself with the support of the Freshsales team. So our entire team loves Freshsales, and even as we ran into little hiccups with our growth, we were able to customize the CRM to meet our needs and really keep everyone happy. And one thing I will recommend, especially as a growing company, is like, listen to your different departments, find out what they need, and know that like there's a lot of times where people would come and be like, hey, these are certain notifications I need, whether it has to do with some sort of permitting or whatnot. There's all types of things, and at first thought it's like, yeah, that's not what our CRM can do and not what it can do. But to be honest, and what I'm going to show you here in just a few minutes, is we were able to solve everyone's problems. And it took a little bit of creative thinking and problem solving, but it didn't take us like reinventing something that Freshsales didn't already have available. So I do recommend it, and I'll show you here soon. All right, so thank you. Those are the slides, and now I'm going to actually dive in and get a little bit more technical. So just to give you guys kind of an overview of what I'm going to go through, I'm going to go through our lead generation process. and how we actually automate things for our setter teams. So to give you an idea of what our process at a high level looks like, we have our lead generation, which what I'm going to be speaking about is specifically our digital efforts, not our door-to-door efforts, but what we do digitally. And then so from the time that that lead is generated, where it goes next is we have a team that's called our setter team, and they are really the ones that are reaching out, gathering the information we need to build the proposals, and then setting the appointments for our closers. And then so our closers are the salesmen that are actually going out to the appointments that have been set. They're sitting down with the customer, or if they're far away, we do over the phone sales as well, but they're sitting down with the customer, and they're closing the deal, figuring out all the, calling in for financing approval, and then that moves to our financing team, where after the loan and everything is taken care of, then it moves to our install team. Well, actually, it moves to our site survey team and permitting, and then it goes to install. So we do have a pretty big process. There are a lot of things that go on, and so I'm going to kind of get into that. So again, process what I'm going to be going over: lead gen through our setter automation, so from our text and how we do all that, to what we do when we lose a lead or aren't able to get in contact with them, and then how we're using the data from lost leads as well as won deals to actually improve our marketing efforts, and how we're sending that information out through Freshsales. I'm going to touch on a little bit, just slightly, on what we're doing with ads, and then how you can use that with Freshsales. And then I'm going to speak about appointment booking and how we're using pipelines inside of Freshsales for these appointments, as well as how how the actual appointments are being generated, and how we're sending that information into Zapier. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about might be the most advanced thing that I get into, but I think you'll find it very interesting, especially for people who are just getting started with Freshsales. And if you are looking to use a lot of workflows, but you don't necessarily want to be on the top plan because you just can't afford it and you need all those extra workflows, we found a workaround in the beginning that allows us to use less workflows but get a ton of productivity, which for people who need to stay on a lower plan for a little bit while they're scaling up, it can make a big difference. So that's the last thing I'll go over, and then I'll open it up for questions and get into anything else that we need. So without further ado, okay, so where I am right now and what you're looking at is I am inside of Zapier. All right, so Zapier is just a tool. You have zapier.com. It works great with Freshsales. It's basically Freshsales and Zapier are like best friends in my mind. And we're inside of editing what's called a Zap. I'm not going to get into all the details about that. If you have questions about it, you guys are welcome to email me after this and I can help you figure out how to get that set up. But for the most part, I'm just going to speak about Freshsales and how things are actually working. So what we're doing here, we have multiple different channels for bringing in leads, as you know, a lot of your businesses probably do. But I've chosen the simplest one here, which is just a Facebook lead form. So to walk through this, basically what's happening is, someone fills out a form on Facebook from one of our ads or posts, and then what's happening is that lead is then coming in and we're using the update lead inside of Freshsales. So the lead information is being captured by Facebook. Zapier is then passing that to Freshsales via the native Freshsales integration with Zapier, and then we're using update lead. And so you may wonder, well, why are you using update lead as opposed to create lead? You use update lead because if the lead doesn't exist, it's going to create the lead, and this is how you avoid having duplicate leads in your CRM, is use update lead. I don't really ever use create lead. I only use update lead. And then what's happening is that lead's coming into Freshsales. And so let me explain, don't get overwhelmed by what you're seeing here. So what happens is it's coming into our CRM, and it's coming into either the stage called hot, which these are leads that we have their phone number, we have their email address, they just came in, or they're coming into this email only. Not going to get into all these specifics here, but basically what this is saying is it's saying, hey, if this is a new lead and they're in one of these territories and they weren't generated by a canvasser or a door-to-door knocker or at a trade show or by one of these managers, then trigger this workflow. So that's 99% of our leads. match those conditions. And so what's happening is triggering this webhook. And so as far as like, you're like, oh, well, how do I use a webhook or anything like that? When you create inside of Zapier a webhook by Zapier, it gives you the code right here. So you just copy this and you literally paste it right here. And then you just come down here and you just check the boxes next to the different fields that you want to send into Zapier. So for us, we use the ID, their name, their emails, their phone number. And so what's happening is then once this is triggered, it's sending all these pieces of information to this URL. And then it's catching it inside of here in Zapier. And what we're doing is, so we use a marketing automation tool called ActiveCampaign. I do think a lot of what we do now you can do inside of Freshsales for a lot of the email sending. But when we set this up a while back, some of the features weren't yet available, but they are now. But anyway, so we're catching the information, we're creating and updating a contact inside of our email service provider. And then what's happening here is we're using a filter to see, okay, hey, does this have a phone number? Yeah, it does. Then what we're doing is we're formatting that number, and then depending on which territory they're in, it's sending a text message. And so this kind of seems, all right, wow, like, what is this custom request? What is all these text messages? What are all these fields? What I want to let you guys know, I did not just know how to do all this stuff when it comes to using the API so we use a solution called Just Call for automating text messages and for our outbound. That it does integrate with Freshsales very well. I do recommend it, and they do allow for a three-way call, but it's still a little janky. But anyways, all this stuff, I wasn't just like, hey, I know how to do this, let me set this up. The Freshsales team helped me set up many of these, especially in the beginning. I mean, after I learned how to do it with them, I was able to do it myself. But really, like, I just want to give it out to their support team, specifically on the technical side. I know Shravan is who I worked with a lot. And they helped me figure out all these problems. I was like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do with my business. I want to be able to automate these texts. I'm using Zapier. I see it has like these capabilities, but I don't know how to use it. And they would come on, do a screen share, and we'd figure out how to do it, which was awesome for me. And it's allowed us to become much more highly technical and skilled. So to kind of back it up again, leads generated comes into Freshsales. It comes into that new stage where then it's triggering automation that's sending them a text message and an email. All right, and then so next where we have it is here's an example lead inside of Freshsales. And so this is me here. Obviously, it's in this hot stage. So what's going to happen is our setter team comes in. They use, actually, I can show you real quick. They use here. They use different preset filters. So you can create a filter here on the side, and then you can actually, so if I let's just say I add day 2 here, you can then click Save View As, and then you save it as whatever you want, and then you have the option to share it with your team or not. But then what will happen is it'll show up here on the left-hand side, and so your team, like for our instance, our setters, they can easily click on the stages or the common filters that they use and just pull that up. So they're not like sorting through the CRM a lot. Those filters help a ton, and you can also edit your columns to see the appropriate information. So those are 2 big things we use as well, just to know. But anyway, so our setters, what they'll do is they'll like, okay, this is a new lead. I'm going to call them, right? So they're calling them with our Just Call integration. You can actually just click to call. I don't use it, so it's not here, but so they'll call, and then assuming they don't answer, which obviously we want them to, but if they don't, what they're doing is they're clicking lead stage day 1. And so what's happening is we have inside of Freshsales a workflow. And let me just show you real quick how to access this. So you go to settings, you go to workflows. For me, this one is called setter automation. It's looking and it's saying, okay, if it's in day 1 through 6, then in this we have another thing running here as well. But for this part, if it's in one of these days, it's triggering a webhook, and that webhook is coming out to Zapier again. We're catching it, and what it's doing is it's only continuing if. Oh wait. That's day 1. Let me go back here real quick. So what's happening is it's triggering this active campaign day 1 through 6 automation. And so what happens here is every time it triggers this, it's taking the tag, or it's adding a tag, sorry, to the user. So like here, I just say lead, and then it's like day 2. So what it is this tag that's now going into our marketing automation tools, telling it which email to send. And so that day 2, that's dynamically updating based off of the information that we're passing in from here, which would be the lead stage, which we call day 1, day 2. So it's coming out, it's triggering this automation, it's adding that tag. Then what happens is inside of Active Campaign, which not a demo on Active Campaign, but what happens is it's going to catch it's waiting until it catches a certain tag. Once the tag's applied, it's sending an email, and then it's posting a webhook back into Zapier, which is then what triggers either one of these day 1 through 6 automations. And so what that means is like, okay, it's catching it, it's checking right here to verify that it has a phone number, it's formatting it correctly. Then in this step, it's checking to see which territory they're in, so that knows which phone number to send the text message through. And then here is again one of those custom requests sending the text. So what we do, and what I highly recommend is, since we do a ton of paid advertising on Facebook and other platforms, but we have one person that we call our message setter. And so our message setter manages the sales inbox, the Facebook messages, and then also manages all the automated text messages, or like responses to the text messages. And that person's job is to basically, they're handling inbound leads, they're answering questions, they're trying to gather information and convert them into a deal. But I do recommend having that one point person that basically handles all the messages that are coming into your company, specifically not the customer service ones. You want a customer service team, and Freshdesk is great for that, but for the sales ones, or pre-deal, anyways. So triggers that, and then if someone gets in to the end of the, basically if we get someone on the phone, they're not qualified. Just so you know, when they get marked as unqualified, it's sending information back into to tell Zapier, to tell Active Campaign to unsubscribe that person. So just so you know. All right. So that's pretty much how that works. Like, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. We actually just moved away from day 5 and day 6 because we were doing some analytics and figured out that really we were having better success with this, and then moving them into Winback. And so what I want to talk to you all about real quick with Winback is this is how we use this stage to win back. So basically, if there's a lead that they gave us their information, but we're not able to get a hold of them for whatever reason, and we can't keep calling them, we move into Winback, and all of a sudden some more automation starts to take care of it. And so I'm gonna slide over here. So again, let's say I hit it into Winback. What's happening now is it's triggering another workflow for Winback, and it's triggering a webhook, and this webhook is sending information out to Zapier again. But what the Zap is doing is it's taking that email and it's adding it to a Facebook custom audience, and the custom audience that we have is called Winback. And so I apologize if anyone here is not currently doing Facebook advertising, has no interest in Facebook advertising. I'm only going to talk about this for just a minute, although I do highly recommend it. But anyway, so we send it into this custom audience, and basically what that means is it's just telling Facebook, hey, this person with this email address, they are someone that we need to put in this audience that we want to be able to show ads to. And so what happens is they come in, here's what the audience looks like, Winback. And then this Winback audience, we build specific advertising campaigns to show on Facebook and Instagram to be like, hey, basically their ads bringing them back in to regenerate them as a lead. And then one way we use this other data from inside of our CRM is for once a deal is created, we then take that same information and say, okay, this person became a deal, and we send that person into another Facebook custom audience that we then create. So it's right here, so offset deals. And then we create a lookalike based off of that that we then run ads to. So here I set this up yesterday to kind of give you guys an example of what we're doing. So right here, here's this, they're coming in to this lookalike audience, and we're running ads to them, and we're able to get, really, really good prices on leads. And the thing is that since every time we get a new deal, it's updating this audience that our audience is based off of, Facebook is able to really understand, what type of customer we're looking for. And so that's how we improve the algorithm, and that's how we continue to get leads for cheaper. So that's all I'm going to say about Facebook. Next thing I want to move into is talk to you guys a little bit more about deals. So when you're running any sort of paid advertising and you're putting money on bringing leads in the door, right? You want to get these people on the phone, assuming that's what your business does. I mean, I'm just speaking about for this business model right here. So for us, a big thing is we need to get people on the phone. We have to verify their address. We have to gather the utility information. A big thing for us is what we call our new appointment calls. And so these are people that have just, like, their lead's been generated, and either right after they generated their lead, they're clicking a button to enter in to schedule a call, or they're receiving one of those text messages I showed y'all in the day 1 through 4 automation. And in those text messages, a lot of them have, in the beginning ones, it's like, here's a link to schedule via our Facebook Messenger chat. So what we do is we use a tool called ManyChat to actually build out a scheduling workflow to allow people to book calls with us directly via Facebook Messenger. And this is great because we use that for mobile traffic, whereas we do have a separate calendar we use for desktop traffic. But if anyone's on mobile, usually they're already logged into Facebook, and since we generate a lot of our leads through Facebook, it's a really seamless transition where they just chat with our bot and they schedule it. So I'm going to show you what that bot kind of looks like, but I don't want to get into it too much. It could maybe seem a little overwhelming. And again, like, I'm happy to provide you guys any advice after this call or whatever. You can email me. But anyway, so new appointment calls are a big lifeblood for us. That means they've scheduled a time for us to reach out to them. So what happens is basically, this is the bot. And what this is basically saying is, like, when they click that link, they're coming in and saying, hey, do you want to schedule a time with us? Which I think is actually on the page before. So it's like, hey, do you want to schedule a time with us? It's like, yes. If they say no, then it's like, all right, are you sure? It's like, okay, actually, I do want to. Or they can call us. We come into this flow here, and what's happening is it's sending a request out to Zapier right here to pull in dates that are available. That's a little bit more advanced. I won't be getting into that. I am happy to help you set that up, though, if that's something you're looking to do. But anyway, so we'll send that out. They'll choose a date based on their time zone. They'll get offered specific dates. They're going to go through the whole process, give us the information they need. And then what happens is it comes back and it's triggering. And so this is where it goes from the appointment into Freshsales. And so what's happening is, let's just say this, central calendar event right here. Oh, I had it pulled up. So what's happening is after they're generated, sending this information back into Zapier, we're doing some stuff here that we don't necessarily need to talk about. We're creating the event in Google Calendar. And then what we're doing is we're finding the lead inside of Freshsales. So the way you got to think of it is, so we've generated someone, right? And like, we're sending everyone we're running through this flow is a lead. And so, a big thing inside of Freshsales is, like, when you are ready to convert your lead into a contact, meaning someone really you're making contact with, you have to click the convert button. So if someone's going through this flow, or if you're taking anyone's sort of information, I don't care what it is you're using, but if you're getting someone to schedule an event, you don't want your salespeople to be calling them, the day or the hours up to the time that they're going to chat with you, because they already have a time scheduled. So what happens is it goes into you use the find lead. This is again a native Zapier function. You're searching based off their email, and since they're coming from Facebook, it's usually the same email they signed up with. Occasionally you will have people that give you a different email, and then you do have to go in and convert their lead. We have someone that kind of watches for that. But what happens is then we have a couple paths. So one is if it's an existing lead, then it's going to take that lead and it's going to convert it. And it's going to convert that lead into a contact. And then we're doing some formatting here. But what happens is then we're creating a deal. And so that deal is exactly what we're seeing right here. And so when it's creating that deal, we needed on this step to convert the lead so that we could pull in the related contact ID. And that related contact ID is what's going to make it so that when you visit a deal, it has the contact associated with it. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I wanted to show you there. That like really, as far as whether or not you're using a messenger chat, if you're using a Calendly, a You Can Book Me, a Schedule Once, whatever it may be, there's an integration with Zapier that's going to allow you to take that information, find that person inside of Freshsales, convert them, and then create the deal. And this happens all automatically, so no one has to do any of it. And it also makes sure that things are happening in real time. So really, the workflows features of Freshsales is immensely useful. And so I'm going to go through one more theme here.
Sorry, 1 second. Somebody had just a question about the workflow that you just spoke about. Let me just read it out to you. So is the chat displaying on your website or on your Facebook page?
Oh, is the chat? Did you say is the chat?
Yes.
Oh, so the chat, basically there's a couple ways it can work. We use, so inside of ManyChat, not sure if you're familiar with it, but there's different growth tools, which is over here on the left. So we use a URL. So basically what it is it's a specific ManyChat URL that when they click it, it launches this this workflow. That's if they're coming from like an email or a text message. But as far as like, let's say they just submitted a lead form, or they just submitted their contact information on a lead generation funnel that we built online. On the thank you page of whether the form or the funnel, we have a button there that has that URL in it. And so when they click that button, it launches the messenger chat. So like on let's see, I can probably show you. Actually, yeah, I can. So, I mean, did that answer your question? So here inside of publishing tools, if you're running lead ads on your Facebook, then this is where you build those forms. So under lead ads forms, there's your forms library. So here's an example of a form where we're gathering their information. I'm just going to go ahead and click submit. So what happens here is it says schedule a call via messenger. So what is inside of here, if I copy this link address, I'll be able to show you. It's a Facebook link, of course, but what it is this is directing to our messenger bot. So assuming I was already logged in, give that old email, it's going to pop up. I'm going to say, let's get started. Awesome. Then it's going to say, it's going to gather the information. So this is how it works, but largely people are doing this on their phone. So yeah, but you can also set it up just on your page. So like a lot of times, let's see, go back to the page. Someone comes in, sends a message. We have, oh wait, if you're on our page and you're clicking send message, we have some like standard responses that's like, these are the common things people do here. And then one's like schedule an appointment, and that will lead them right into that flow. So is that good? Should I move on? All right. Oh, here. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to hide this for whoever recommended that, but let's just go full screen. All right. Sorry, guys. I'll back to it now. Hope I didn't lose anyone there. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about that, kind of sophisticated thing that we use the workflows for. That's actually really simple and allows us to get a lot of use out of one workflow, as well as how it actually looks with how we've customized our CRM. So let's get started. Sorry, I kind of lost where I was at. All right. So, when you're in Freshsales, if you need to modify your leads module, so basically if you need to change the way that what shows up on the leads profile, or if you need to change the way what shows up on the contacts profile or the deals, the accounts, this is where you do all that and where you create the pipeline. So to give you guys just a little bit more of an overview, our pipelines, we set them up so that we have specific one for our closers. This is the only one they need to use. Specific one for our finance team, our install team, our site evaluation team, our setters, post-install. We give them each their own dedicated pipeline so they're not having to swap between pipelines. They just work on their processes. We don't use the accounts module that much because for the most part, we're not working with we don't do commercial, like we're not doing a lot of commercial projects. We're not working with companies or schools or something like that where you're going to have multiple contacts you're doing deals with there. Additionally, we do everything for the most part on the deals module as opposed to the contacts because we aren't having contacts with multiple deals. Really, for the most part, it's one contact and then they have one deal. And so the reason being is people aren't buying multiple solar systems usually. Occasionally they are if they're getting one for if they're getting one for like their rental property or something like that. But anyway, so what we've done is we had to modify the leads one, and it looks a lot similar to the deals one that I'm going to show you now. So we have our standard deal information. We require, especially being in solar, like and doing everything with install and permitting, there's just a ton of information we have to gather. So, and the way that I mean, we've even used, actually, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but like HubSpot, I don't know if anyone's used HubSpot, the way that you have your information laid out on HubSpot, if you have a ton of contact info, it's just not great. So finding a solution that allows us to properly display the to make it really easy to digest and find a bunch of information was really important for us, and so we're able to do that with Freshsales. I mean, you can have up to 305 fields, which is a solid amount. So what we do is, we have the general information, and then we have a section that's specifically for, okay, this is the information that's needed by our array team. So the array team is people that basically look at someone's roof, take the information as far as the sun on the roof and utility usage for the home, and they're building out the proposals for our sales team. So they come in here and they're just looking at this section inside of the deal that sorry if this down here is distracting you a lot. It's just a little easier if I have my tabs available. So when so they come in here on a deal. Hold on one minute. There we go. So they come in here on a deal. They're going to come in, they're just going to click on the RFP information, and everything they need is right here to build it out. So we just do these different sections based off of what the different people are going to need. This deal information is largely used by our finance team. The RFP is largely used by our array team, and then install is used by our install team. And so one thing that Freshsales allow you to do really well is when any of these fields kind of get updated, you can have them trigger certain automations. So if we know we have the HOA status or like a permit has been approved or denied, we can make sure that when that field is updated, an email is sent to the person that needs to the person internally that needs to know to either contact the customer or submit some paperwork, etc. But so what we've done here is we customize it out. We have the install, all that. So, but what's specific to us, and this is really what I think is really cool. So we have all these check boxes that you can see under this extra information. So I just have it called Rob's Custom Automation. And this is what I use. No one else really needs to worry about it. And what we have is all these checkboxes that are read only. And so these checkboxes, we're passing them out as parameters inside of workflows, so that so that when Zapier is catching the information, it's going to know what the status of this deal is. So let me take you through an example. So what's going on is, let's say, all right, let's take this 48-hour install confirmation email as an example. So 2 days before someone install, we want to make sure that they're receiving this confirmation email, right? So what happens is we have a workflow, again, back here into workflows, where it's checking, okay, if it's in this install pipeline, if it's in permitting, if it's got a couple days. So these are all different things that could trigger it. Some of them can seem redundant as far as these two, but it's just to make sure that things trigger properly. So this is what we do a lot of, in the cool trick is we set up what we call cron jobs. Essentially, it just means something that's running every day at the same time. And so we do this for our install pipeline, our finance pipeline, our closer pipeline, all of our pipelines. And at one point, we just had one big cron that was triggering off of a ton of things, but we wanted to cut down on the amount of tasks and API requests we're using, so we split it up. Because certain things don't need to trigger as much. So what we're doing is we're telling Freshsales, hey, execute this every day for the same records at 6 a.m. So what it's doing is every day at 6 a.m., it's taking all the deals that meet specific conditions, or all the leads, whatever it may be. In our case, it's deals, and then it's triggering these webhooks. And so these webhooks are then taking all this information and they're passing it out to Zapier. And so all these deals are hitting this hook right here, right? And just so you guys know, you can add, if you put a comma, you can end up adding multiple webhooks to one. So we used to do that when we had a lot on one end, but we need to trigger a lot of automations from one webhook. But so what's happening is coming out here, this is then saying, okay, I'm catching all this data, and then it's filtering it and saying, okay, for us, does it meet these two conditions? So this deal CF start date, what that means, it means a deal custom field. So that's coming from Freshsales. And then start date is what we call the field for install start date. So assuming that there is a start date and it exists, and then also assuming that the confirmation email is false, meaning it hasn't been sent, then proceed with the automation. So assuming those conditions are met, what it's doing is it's sending the email, and then after the email is sent, we're setting a put request. So this is just another webhook back into Freshsales, and again, they can totally help you with setting this up. I mean, I can as well, but it's really straightforward. So you're sending it in, we're catching the lead ID from the initial webhook, so that's, or the deal ID, so that's how we're updating it properly. And then we're just setting that field to true. So what happens is that now this field right here is no longer false, it's now true, which just means that the checkbox is checked. And so I'll show you guys. It would just mean that this checkbox would be checked. And so then when the cron runs tomorrow and it sends the information out to Zapier, when it comes to this filter step, it's no longer going to match these conditions. So they're not going to keep getting sent the same emails over and over again, or the same text messages over and over again. And just a little update, you don't pay for filters that fail, and you don't pay for trigger steps. So we can send as many as we want, and as long as it doesn't meet these conditions, we're not paying for it with Zapier. So we can check as many things as we want. It's not running up the bill at all. So we have a ton of these different automations, things that are working for sending different emails, creating calendar events, and a lot of them run off of these workflows that we set up that we call crons. And so this just means it's running every single day at a certain time and sending the information out. So if you guys are on like a lower Freshsales package and you only have a certain amount of workflows, but you really need automate using Zapier, It's not going to cost you anything unless it actually runs. And so it's just going to send out all this information, and then you just have to use filters in Zapier to make sure that it only runs for the things you want. And I'm also happy, again, to send you guys any examples of this that you want. I really want you to have the best experience with Freshsales possible, and it's super useful. So, so yeah, we got about 10 minutes left here. I kind of, dove into some technical things, showed you some stuff with the Facebook ads platform, showed you a lot of things with Zapier, showed you a number of things with how we have them customized. But I'd like to open it up to questions, and really just kind of take some time to answer these questions. So, anything? Let's see.
Thank you, Rob. So I think we wait for some questions. Some questions are coming in. Okay, let me read one for you. For your stages, when you showed day 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., do you reach out to the leads every day?
Yes, we reach out to them every day. Sometimes, so honestly, a lot of times it's best practice to reach out a couple times a day. But since we're leveraging automated text and email, so we don't want to overburden people. And we've noticed that through 4 days, we're usually able to make that contact with them. But yeah, we are reaching out every day. Some of the messaging that we actually use, so like when it comes to day 3, for instance, we're like, hey, we don't want to bother you. It's like I don't want to bother you. You just let me know if I should continue reaching out. And really, when it gets to that one, people respond all the time and they're like, yeah, sorry, I've just been so busy. Please reach out at this time. So really, it's just a matter of like humanizing our business and making it very much conversational. Because most of our sales, I mean, everything happens through conversations. So, and everything's being driven more into conversation. So it's just acting like a normal person, or being a normal person, and just being open and being like, hey, I know I've called you 3 times. I don't want to blow you up. Should I call back another time? And usually you'll get someone to contact you back. One little kind of like pro tip that we do is, so we use an alias, and basically what I mean by that is we have someone that we call Claire Jones, and she is our appointment manager. She's actually not really a real person. I mean, she is, like, we have our message setter who handles all those text messages, but she's the person that like emails and text messages and everything will come out through. So we have a centralized point of contact, and then we have that one message setter who's handling all the inbound texts, Facebook messages and stuff, and she's kind of our point person. And so here's another little pro tip: if you guys are running a customer service operation, but you're like a solopreneur, maybe you have a few people on your team, one customer service person, but you want to make it seem like you have a much larger team. One of the things that that I've done in the past is you create multiple aliases, such as, Claire is your normal sales rep, then you have Sarah, who's like the manager, and then you have like Richard, who's like the VP. And so basically what happens is if you're trying to solve someone's customer service problem, it's Claire, but they're like, no, I need to speak to a manager, then you just respond to them under a different alias, named Sarah, with a higher title. And if they're still not happy, then you escalate them all the way up to Richard, who's still you, but it's just a higher title. I don't know if that's, I think that's fine, but that's something I've done in the past. It works really well. People tend to then think that their problems are being resolved, and it also makes you, if you have a small company, seem like you have a much larger customer service operation. Okay, so how do you handle lead setting staffing? I see there's a question from Glenn. Because leads come in at all kinds of hours. So we just do it during, a normal workday. That's when we're calling. If they come in outside of like normal hours, they're still receiving the text and email. But as far as calls and stuff like that, no, we're just staffing like normal, like 8 to 5. And so when we accept appointment calls, we only allow them to choose times that are within our normal hours. Question here: do they get annoyed? So I mean, here's the thing: you're always going to get people that get kind of annoyed, But the way we look at it is like, you gave us your information because you're interested in this. We didn't trick you into giving us your information. And this isn't what we're saying to them, but this is just kind of our mindset. It's like, we're going to contact you because you want us to contact you. If you get annoyed at us, just tell us when you want us to contact you, especially because we ask you, hey, when's a good time? And so you're always going to get people. It's kind of like when you view your email list and if someone unsubscribes, don't get upset that they unsubscribe. Be happy that you're no longer paying for them on there. You're no longer wasting your time. There's always going to be people that are unhappy that say, hey, why are you calling me? All that stuff. You can't worry about those people. That's just, they just exist, and that's just who it is. But you don't build your business off not trying to annoy people. I mean, you want to be ethical and kosher or whatever. You want to be a good business with a real face, and you want to take care of people, but you can't expect to make everybody happy. Question here: Our staff just work? Yeah, staff just working 9 to 5. Yeah, just 9 to 5, 8 to 5. They usually get in an hour early at 8 to get things set up. How can I get your help with setting up my Freshsales platform? If you guys, so Freshsales has a great support team for helping you guys set up your CRM, anything like that. I mean, I am more than happy to provide y'all advice on how to do anything. I will also probably point you in Freshsales direction a lot just to make sure I'm giving you proper advice. But definitely, you can email me, rob@offsetsolar.com, with any questions that you'd ever have. I'd be happy to help.
Thank you for taking that, Rob. And I just wanted to address Gray's question again. Please feel free to contact us. We are here to help you 24/7. So whether setting up your Freshsales account or understanding the features inside the product, we'd be more than happy to help. And we will help you get in touch with Rob too if there's anything specific that you would like to set up for your account, similar to what Rob has done. But thank you for answering that, Rob.
Yeah, for sure. So Zapier, is it a free tool? If not, do you recommend any free plugins? So the Zapier pricing, I'm not exactly sure. We're on the largest one there is. I do think that they have very small options for automating just like 50 tasks or so that aren't expensive, and I think I mean it's very affordable. Can Freshsales smart form collect customer information from a specific field without using webhooks? Yeah, so actually to give you an example of that, Greg. Let's see, sorry. We actually use it for like, this is an internal page that we'll use for like our door knockers or something. Because a lot of times setting it up inside of Freshsales, like we're gathering all different types of information at different places. So we created just a form, and you can capture this just with a little script that Freshsales gives you, and you will pull in this information and create the deal automatically. And so it's just a form where they just fill out all the stuff, and this is again for our door knockers. So I know I didn't go much into our door knockers, but yeah, that's something we use, and you can use the smart forms for that. I do not use HubSpot in combination with Freshsales like ActiveCampaign. I do have the browser shortcut. So that's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah. So again, I run a digital marketing agency called Alice.design. So we work with clients in different things. So that's why I have the extension. I'm not honestly a huge HubSpot fan. I know a lot of people like the tool, but it's not something I recommend. Is Claire Jones the replacement for emailing from info at? Yeah, so we don't, like, if it comes to customer service, we don't use Claire Jones. We use our real people. We're dealing with real customers. We want to have a face. When it comes to these outbound, we generated leads and we're having conversations there. We use Claire Jones as a replacement for that. Yeah, and so basically what we do is inside of our G Suite, we have an account that's called Going Solar at offsetsolar.com, and that's where basically all of our inbound, that's where all of our marketing and sales emails really come out of. And then we just set up an alias for that account called Claire, Claire.Jones, or it might just be Claire at offsetsolar.com, and then we send email as that address. I think there's one in here about how many setters we have compared to closers. So it really kind of depends on the territory and stuff. And how many leads we're getting, but like our setter team is about 14 people, um, and they're calling all the time, and just setting appointments. So I mean, our sales team is larger, but we have people spread out all over the states. Well, these states of Washington and Illinois and stuff. Hey, and Valentine Rusman, or Rosman, hope I'm saying that correctly. Uh, you're welcome for answering your question. I'm glad. I hope that you guys were all able to take away some new tricks from this. And that's the thing with growing your business. If there's one last thing I can leave you with that's super important, is to realize that like there's all this stuff that's going to come in, all these shiny objects that are going to come in, and you're going to want to do them, and you're going to think it's important. You're going to think you need your SEO and your email and your Facebook ads and your CRM, and it's true that you do need all of that. But what I would tell you, if there's anything important, is to look at where you're trying to go immediately. What is your immediate goal? And then look at where you currently are, and then assess that gap between where you currently are and where you're trying to go. And when you can identify those things that are, you need to do to get to your immediate goal, consider those your bridges. And instead of building a bunch of half-built bridges on your way, you want to actually fully build those out so that you make sure you get there. So realize where you are in your business, realize where you want to go, and just focus on the immediate things that are going to get you there. Because I'm telling you, as you grow and as you build these things out, you're going to end up doing everything you need to do for your business. But don't get too distracted with all the shiny objects, and just focus on your core competencies and doing a few things right. And don't try and automate everything before it's too soon. Make a process work, prove it out, and then automate. Because a lot of times you'll waste your time automating things just to find out that that's not how you want to do it anyways.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. I think this has been a fantastic session, and a lot of them have taken away some key insights. And I'm pretty sure that this was an extensive presentation, and some of you would want to go through this again. So we will be sending a recording of Rob's webinar today to all of our attendees. So please watch out for that email from us to go through the webinar again at your own pace, and hope that it helps. So Rob, is there anything else that you want to share before you leave for the day?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Just that I appreciate you all getting on here and spending this hour with me. I know your time is valuable, and I really think that Freshsales will be a great solution, along with their other platforms like Freshdesk, to help you achieve your business goals. And obviously, Freshsales and the Freshworks and the entire staff is there to support you. And if you have questions for me, feel free to ask rob@offsetsolar.com. But thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Rob. It was a pleasure having you today.